And then,
Oops.
all right, on 3, 2, 1, do the local. So three,
Okay.
2, 1, and go ahead.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
All right, we are up and running.
Sweet. All right.
Okay. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Woo!
All right, everybody, are you ready for another Patreon? It's Morning Zoo in the radio with Andrew, everybody, and I've got my friend Benatavius Maximus Aurelius Maximus again, the thirdimus.
Oh my god, that's the longest version of my name ever.
And we got fucking a topic here today, and that's tell them about it, man.
I hope we have a topic, yeah. So I thought it would be interesting to go over the idea of, can Batman ever really heal? You know, the idea of talking about Batman's mental health. We've talked a lot about, other ways that he's had traumas, of course, and talked about different stories where he might have had some sort of progress through that, like Batman Forever's, the original cut of that. But we haven't really talked that much about like going in depth about it. And I thought it'd be cool as sort of a free form discussion to go into it because we never really talked that much about it. So here we are on that. So I think to start off, we could discuss what we think. I mean, we're not mental health professionals on this, but if we have
first clue.
if you were to guess though, if there was like what Bruce's issues would be in order to heal in the first place, what would they be? Because like the title is,
that's a good question.
Can Bruce Wayne ever get healed? But first off, like what does he have to heal from? Obviously, he has this trauma from his parents getting killed, but not everyone who sees their parents get killed in front of them goes out and dresses up like a bat every night and fights crime. So I guess that's the question on the table. What do you think?
Okay, so we have severe PTSD.
I agree.
Which culminates into, let's say, a kind of multiple personality disorder, really, with him seeing himself more as Batman. And, well, what do they call it? The real term is dissociative personality disorder.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends, I think, on the interpretation, too, because it's like with DID, it's a little closer to Two-Face from what I've understanding, where it's like it's a completely different personality that takes over, almost like another person inside of you. The alters and stuff. I think that Toni Collette's series, United States of Tara, had something similar, where she had all these like different people that she could be, but then she wouldn't really remember who she was in a way.
Okay, so maybe my terminology's off, but at least in this, this depends on the run too, right? When you get into these specifics,
it does, because I think The Dark Knight Returns kind of does this.
Yeah,
what you're talking about. So it's not like you're completely wrong.
Yeah, so like the extreme is where he sees himself more as Batman than Bruce Wayne after a while. And the whole, it's even in one of the Justice League ones or something, where he's like, he says he knew his internal monologue was off because he addressed himself in his mind
Batman
as
Beyond.
Bruce. Yeah. Batman Beyond, yeah. So like,
it's like, first off, I know I'm not crazy, and Terry's like, what's the other reason?
yeah. So I mean, BTAS and Batman Beyond, the Timverse stuff is like not nearly as dark as some of the other runs, but they still kind of lean into that aspect of it. So if it is that's, I don't know what the term would be, but it's dissociating yourself, a part of yourself from another part of yourself, I guess. So, so the PTSD leads to this, and then, I mean, that's the main thing. What else would it be other than that?
I would say it's mostly PTSD. I thought I would bring up some other like theories that have been brought up. Some might say depression in a way, but I don't really agree. Like the most common form of depression, like people, I think when they say depression, they think like, oh, well, he's sad all the time. Sad Batman, sad Batfleck, that type of stuff. But like if we're talking about true clinical depression, a very common symptom is not necessarily sadness so much as just complete apathy. It's like not wanting to get
Yeah.
out of bed or do anything. And I'm just like, that doesn't seem like Bruce at all.
I thank
Or,
Darwin in non-heaven for not having depression. When I get depressed
well, yeah.
sometimes,
Hmm.
I feel like I've thought this while I was depressed. I was like, do people that have clinical depression, are they just like this all the time? Like, God, it must be terrible.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
I think it's, if it is some form of depression, it's like a unique version where his outlet, like he can't really be apathetic, but his outlet is to basically be a workaholic. But again, I'm just like, that's me kind of just trying to plug it in, but not. I don't really agree with that diagnosis because it's just like I think it sort of lacks understanding of what the real world clinical depression is. I don't really think that applies to Bruce in this.
I'd say also any kind of OCD kind of thing, perfectionist kind of thing, you can't be the best at anything unless you've got a little bit of that, and most people have a lot of it. Like,
Probably, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like him
Yeah.
wanting to control as much as he can
Hmm.
because he was really not in control that one fateful night.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
um, there's probably a lot of control issues there too, which again stem from PTSD. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think PTSD is like the number one on
yeah,
here, and it
yeah,
sounds as if Matt Reeves is the Batman is going to explore that in some way based off of the comments that have been
yeah.
made, but it could be other forms of stuff that are prevalent in psychology. So one thing that came to mind is avoidant personality. Now, avoidant
Okay.
personality is something where people tend to close themselves off from others. And my cat's about to fall off from his chair.
Alfie, no! Oh no, Alfie!
Okay,
I'm
there he
keeping
goes.
this in, Ben. We're not editing this
Yeah,
out.
no, that's fine. That's fine. It's a good comedic moment.
No, I could
Talking
see
about very serious personality disorders, and then my cat just decides to create some entertainment.
my cat's main mental problem is just straight up laziness.
So, avoidant personalities tend to close themselves off from others, especially those who they feel the closest to. And I feel like this very much applies to Bruce, or more extreme versions of Bruce Wayne. The type to sort of close himself off and be more into his work and not really talk that much about it. I mean, they even tried to address this a little bit in Titans, though too much of an extreme, I think, with like the death of Jason Todd. Dick visits him and he's pretty much just like, life moves on in a way. And I'm just like, no, that's not like it's basically that's not genuine reaction from him. He's just trying to hide the fact that he feels pain, that he feels hurt
Yeah,
by what's been
yeah.
going on. But that's also why we have this whole thing about Batman's trust issues, creating all the contingency plans on the Justice League, all the ways in which he might pull away from romantic relationships,
Control
those sorts of
control
things.
issues has got to be a big deal. I mean, this happens a lot with the Bat family stuff too. He's
Hmm.
too controlling, and they just don't have the trauma that he has. So, or many of them don't,
Hmm.
and yeah, that leads to all sorts of problems, I guess, for sure. Uh, yeah, I haven't really thought about too much about how controlling he is, but I mean, it says something. Again, of course, a fake character, but like somebody that has a PTSD moment, has a traumatic event,
Hmm.
and then wants to take out as much crime as possible. Like there's
Hmm.
something controlling about that.
Yeah. And it's a response to, as you said, an event in which he did not have control.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, and I think it's common too. I don't think it's specific to just Batman. I think it's common for control to be a theme in psychotherapy. In people talking about the traumas, because traumatic experiences inherently are ones where they had no control, and so they'll
Yeah.
want some form of control. Again, whether it's your trauma stems from somebody betraying you, and so therefore you don't let anyone get close to you as a response to that trauma, because that's your way of controlling that. That's
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
a common theme that comes up in therapy a lot, and I think that's probably something that comes up with Batman, especially because he's been betrayed. I mean, obviously he wasn't betrayed in Crime Alley when his parents were killed, other than maybe feeling betrayed uh, by God, if we're going by him growing up with religion and everything. But I think more betrayals come from stuff like Harvey Dent, come from Tommy Elliott turning into Hush, friends turning into villains, Jason Todd becoming Red Hood, that type of stuff. That where Batman may be an outlet for him to deal with his trauma, but he also is opening himself up to other traumas, to newer traumas at the same time,
Right.
unknowingly or not deliberately from the beginning, because he obviously wasn't planning to do that. That was just his way of responding to this.
That'll amp up the drama as well. Like
Hmm.
the very rare times he lets himself open are these times he gets fucked again.
Hmm. Yeah.
He makes himself vulnerable. He lets loose of the control in cases like Harvey and probably Catwoman to a degree, or fucking whoever
Hmm.
he falls in love with in whatever story. So
Hmm.
yeah, I guess that's all there.
Yeah. Titans had an interesting line from Leslie Tompkins saying that she kind of diagnosed him with disorder, borderline personality disorder, and I'm like, that feels completely off, because borderline personality disorder is almost like the cliche I can give you for that is like the overly attached girlfriend type,
Okay,
and that doesn't
who's
seem like
Leslie
Batman
Tompkins
at all.
playing again?
Who's what?
Who is Leslie Tompkins playing again in Titans? Or who is Leslie Tompkins again?
She's the woman who she's not an actress. She's the woman who comforted him when his parents were killed.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Oh, okay.
But she's not in Titans. She's not. She might as well be Chase Meridian or somebody, because she's younger than him. So she had no,
Oh, okay,
she
okay.
wasn't around when his parents were killed. But she's a therapist basically in the Titans verse, and she says
Oh, I
that Batman
gotcha.
has a borderline personality disorder. I'm just like, does he though? I feel like they got it completely off. I feel like they just were just like, what sounds like a something where Batman's crazy? Let's throw this in. I'm just like, this feels like this is not accurate to him or borderline personality disorder, but
Okay.
whatever. Again, I'm not a mental health professional, but it does sound like at least I've had some more research than the writers on that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel true to me. I would say he's more, um, again, he has some elements of being avoidant in his attachment to other people.
Yeah.
Avoiding, sometimes that can just be attachments to other people. Sometimes that can just be personality. In it, I'm not sure if he's completely avoidant personality disorder, but he definitely has avoidant tendencies on that. PTSD we talked about. Anger management is something that people bring up a lot, as we've talked about. We have an upcoming episode that we recorded yesterday on whether Gotham needs Bruce Wayne more than Batman.
Yeah.
Whether or not Bruce Wayne should just use his money. And people say, like, Bruce should just enroll in anger management and stuff. And I'm just like, does Batman actually have anger management issues, though? Like, he's not really the Hulk, like, I can see why people believe that, but I'm kind of a little bit more from the school of thought of Batman reining in Jason Todd, of Batman being a little bit more from the animated series or Michael Keaton type, where like the anger is a tool. Like, I think Batman Begins shows a good level of anger when he does the whole swear to me thing, because he's channeling the anger for as a tool. He's not getting angry to the point of recklessness like he was in the fight with Bane, where like that was
Right.
him getting angry, but he was basically losing the fight, and he was losing it further and further the more angry that he got. In Batman Begins, it more of a controlled anger. It was more of a tool that he was using, and I feel like that's kind of what Bruce has mastered. And I think he's that maybe that's something that he's a little bit more of a loose cannon in the beginning, but then he's at least controls it by the time that he's like a veteran Batman. By the time he has to teach Robin, I would think. Like,
The
I don't
Matt
know. What
Reeves
do you
one said
feel in terms of his anger?
Matt Reeves one probably is going to maybe say he's got some anger issues. It's what it's looking like, but
Based on that one moment, yeah, I
that
can see
one
that.
moment. But other
Mhm.
than that, yeah, it's also another kind of. It seems like, yeah, I wouldn't say that so much either. I mean, maybe the Frank Miller one. I don't know, but
Definitely
generally,
the All Star one.
I like to see him as a little bit more controlled
Me
than
too.
that,
Yeah.
than like
Hmm.
flying off the lid. Like, it has to do with maybe the martial arts training and shit as well.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I don't see. He has PTSD, but not anger issues so much, generally speaking.
Hmm.
I don't think it's led to that. It's just like the whole like him saying "swear to me." I mean, yeah, he's kind of screaming it in the gruff Batman voice, but that's also just intimidation in that scene. Really,
Yeah.
that's not even really anger.
Yeah. It's an intimidation tactic.
Yeah,
It's theatricality and deception, basically.
that's different. It does seem like Batman's angry is kind of like the comments that the people say Batman or but Bruce Wayne's money should save Gotham. It's kind of sounds like a comment from the same person. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just maybe get a little bit more. Maybe I don't know. I know I just asked who the fuck Leslie Tompkins is, but read maybe read a couple more comics. Like So I don't know. Uh, yeah, that's what I think about that, Ben.
Yeah, I agree with the anger stuff. That's why I'm just, it always feels weird to me. I'm like, Bruce Banner has the anger management issues, clearly, at least in the beginning when he first turns into the Hulk, and then he has to, his arc is dealing with that. So that's Banner's thing. But Bruce Wayne, I'm just like, I always felt like it was a restraint thing, or anger was kind of used as a tool
I mean, to play devil's
or
advocate though,
channels that.
in Dark Knight Rises, he's pretty angry fighting Bane the first time. He's like
Yeah, he
screaming,
loses that fight.
"Ugh!"
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
loses
loses.
that fight.
I
you
know, I
know?
know, because yeah, he's not the calm of the storm, bro. He's fucking that's like a martial arts thing,
I
right? They
mean,
say you got to be the calm in the storm. You can't.
to
You
be
have to.
fair, he's
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
angry in the final fight.
That's
So I'm like,
true.
yeah, maybe he didn't quite learn his lesson, but he's at least more restrained in the final fight, or knows what he's
Yeah,
up against in a
he's a
better
little bit
way.
more controlled. Yeah, for sure. I
Hmm.
mean, when we talk about this kind of stuff, about anger and fights and stuff, I always think of my brother because my brother just seems to really just fucking gets off. He just loves like anger, like dark side, like people enraged fighting.
Hmm.
Like he's never going to be the kind of person to like Superman. Like he's you know what I mean? Like just really edge lord kind of shit. I make fun of him sometimes for being
Hmm.
too edge lordy, but I mean I listen to edge lord music, so I don't know. Like
Hmm.
it's just whatever. Plus
Hmm.
I mean I like dark stuff too, but it's just not the only thing I like.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think, I mean, again, it's not like Batman's never angry. Obviously, we've seen him be angry. We've seen him like nearly beat evil pulp and stuff. So it's not, I'm not saying he's never angry. I'm saying that I feel it's a lot more angry than people give credit for.
Right.
And again, it's kind of like saying the upcoming episode where I'm like, I think a lot of that is that perception of watching the Dark Knight trilogy and having that perception of Batman as this angry, growling dude, and not really seeing the depth of the character beyond that. Because like I would
Yeah.
argue that Bale is not exactly the Hulk either. Yes, he's angry to the point of recklessness when he gets beaten by Bane, but it's not like he was like that the entire trilogy either.
Yeah. I mean, he's holding the gun. I mean, he's kind of on the angry side in Dark Knight, and that's maybe why people have that kind of vibe. Like
Yeah.
when he's holding the gun about to kill him in Batman Begins, he's angry then.
Hmm.
Is there some anger scenes in Dark Knight where oh
I mean, when he most he flies out the handle to me is when he's in the interrogation room, right? And he finds out that Joker took Rachel
yeah,
as well as Harvey.
yeah, when he says you what does he say? You're about to break your one rule, and he's like, I'm thinking about it.
I'm considering, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love lines like that. I also kind of appreciated like I've said this before, but he when he walks out, they're like, "Which one you going for, Rachel?" Like, there's fucking no hesitation, like,
Mhm.
because I guess in this case he knows the cops will get the other one, so
Or he thought,
there's
yeah.
well there's gonna be an attempt to save both
Hmm.
anyway, but he's definitely knows his choice immediately.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's kind of on the angry side for Bale Nolan one, but that's just
Hmm.
only one. interpretation.
Yeah. There's just a lot
Batfleck is a little bit less angry, right?
Yeah, especially like, BTS. I think part of like there is anger, obviously, with the fight. The fact that he just uses that fucking toilet seat on him, as we went over in our live show. The
Yeah.
fights.
Fucking kitchen
The
sink.
toilet. Yes. So
That's
there is
humor,
that.
man.
He is motivated by some anger against Superman throughout it, and then finds, of course, that he's wrong. So like anytime that we actually see Batman flying on the handle, usually not like every single moment, and what does end up being motivated by anger and by actually training and mastering it like a true martial arts master, usually he finds out he's in the wrong. He learns his lesson, whether it's bang his back, or for yourself, or not its enemy. Yes, like it's usually some sort of lesson is learned through that. They don't all at all in the Zack Snyder Justice League.
Right.
So,
Hey Ben, you're getting a lot of robot voice. Oh yeah, there we go.
yep. Hello.
Okay, you're back. You're clear now, I think.
Okay. There might have been a blip. Luckily, we got the locals.
Yeah, this was yeah, I was just about to say something to you. All right, so let me mark this again. All
Yeah,
right.
no problem.
So let's just go on to the next point
Okay.
then.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
not
yeah.
anger, after anger, what we got?
Yeah. So I can kind of see the DID is what you're talking about in The Dark Knight Returns, right? Because he's got this whole little inner monologue throughout the time with like
Right.
Batman, almost Batman talking to him, and it's almost like Batman takes over and shaves off his mustache overnight in that one moment
Yeah.
in the first book. So it's almost clearly like another identity taking him over, but I don't feel like that's really in the other books. I don't feel like that's in the other comics where Batman is just completely other personality that's like dormant within him. In a way, I think it's closer to just what Morrison had said at one point about the fact that Batman is pretty much like the only way that Bruce can stay sane.
Right.
He puts on that costume to stay sane. If he didn't put on the costume, he would actually be insane.
Yeah, it's an I guess that's what do you say, what can I say about this? It's probably a more recent addition to Batman mythology, right? Like him needing Batman to stay sane. It just seems a little bit. I don't know. I don't think they were thinking that in the '60s and '70s or
Oh no,
before that. Or before that, you know
I
what I
don't think
mean?
they thought of him as potentially insane or having mental health issues at all by the time we get to the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. So yeah, it gets a little bit too much, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, it could work. It just depends on the writer, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need that either. So,
Mhm.
um, but it is interesting to see, if Batman is quote unquote crazy, he's just a good crazy fighting bad crazies, basically. So maybe there's something metaphorical, or there's some sort of like, you know, uh, interesting point. I mean, I guess that they've already done this a lot anyway, but there's interesting points to be made
Mhm.
via Batman stories that way as well.
Yeah.
Um, but so let's say other than anger, so he's PTSD causes uh
Desire
what
for
else?
control.
What's that?
Desire for
Dissociative?
control. Yeah.
Yeah, desire for control, um,
Avoidance,
avoidance. Yeah,
just in general, with feelings and romantic attachments, just close attachments in general.
yeah,
I
that's
would say
true.
those are the big things. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'd say those are the big things. I don't think he's bipolar. I don't think he has clinical depression.
Yeah, I don't think so either. If he
I
had
don't think
depression,
he
it's
has
just a whole other
anxiety.
thing. Are there any heroes with depression? There must be.
If there are, they're not like in super mainstream. Probably because of what I was talking about, where just in common cases, depression causes you to not want to do anything, and that doesn't really lead to fantastic superhero stories.
Right there, but yeah, I know, I can understand that. But now we're living more and more in the age of representation. So I bet you
Mhm.
there's an X-Men character out there or somebody with
Yeah,
depression
I mean, they
for
probably
that
do
representation.
if they get deeper into it. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
everyone who has depression is suicidal. People suicide are suicide characters. I mean, not a superhero, but he is literally in the Suicide Squad, and he is somewhat suicidal. He has a death wish throughout it. So it's I don't know if you necessarily have depression, though. On that, that's a whole other thing, which does kind of question: is Batman kind of weirdly doing some sort of form of suicide? And
Suicide by villain.
suicide, kind of. So, like, it called "I Am Suicide" from Tom King, where he gathers his own Suicide Squad, but actually brings up. I think I brought this up in our training timeline episode way back, but he claims to Catwoman that he almost killed himself after the death of his parents, which is a
Ah,
completely new addition from Tom King. And then he realized that he wanted to live and he was going to have a different form of killing himself, and that was to basically wage war on all criminals until the day that he dies. Almost suicide by criminals, suicide by villains and stuff. And that's why it's called "I Am Suicide." In a way, "I Am
I could see.
Batman" is "I Am Suicide."
I could see him being suicidal before Batman. I could see him kind of going through a depression. His parents are
Mm-hmm.
newly dead, basically, and yeah, I think I could definitely see young Bruce going through all that,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the road to recovery, even before Batman, he sort of gets over a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
but then a lot of, I mean, there might be some of that that remains, but it's mostly just the crusade at that point,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
he gets to like a cruising altitude in a sense in his mind. So yeah,
Yeah.
that the Tom King edition doesn't bother me that much, considering the timing that it's in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I think it's an interesting addition, but it's also not something that I think is now an essential part of the character. It's not one of those things where I'm just like, this is now in my head canon. It's more of like, this is a really interesting idea
Yeah,
to explore,
that's
but
true.
it's not something that I'm super attached to on it.
Yeah,
So kind of it could be seen in that again. A lot of this depends on the interpretation on this. We're kind of going with the more traditional Batman of the past couple decades, as opposed to trying to go for the extreme versions, like All Star Batman from Frank Miller, who's
right.
just he's just a psychopath. He's
He
just a
likes the
sociopath.
psychopath shit. But you know what? It's the character's up to interpretation. So
Yeah,
like,
it is.
whatever, dude. Just if that's hit what he likes, it's not what I like that
Hmm.
much, but
Yeah.
obviously a lot of people like that kind of thing. I mean, like lately I'm reading Venom, and I love like the kind of like dual personality shit with that,
Hmm.
or it's like a kind of like a sort of quasi evil voice in his head.
Hmm.
I love it there, but like with Batman, I don't know. I don't like it with him. I wouldn't like it to get too dark in that way.
Hmm.
Um, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but the other thing
Yeah.
too, the question that is the title of this episode, can Batman heal? It sounds like a third act kind of thing, and it's kind of sort of happens in Dark Knight Rises, right?
Kind
Um,
of. So I would
at the
say,
coffee.
yeah. So I think we could dive into three different interpretations where this kind of happened. I mean, it sort of happens first and forever if we go with the original cut, if we go with the script that we've talked about in the past, with him realizing that it's not really completely his fault that his parents were killed.
Oh, right, like the Batman Forever kind of thing,
Hmm.
and all that, or the cut scenes from Batman Forever.
Yeah, yeah, where he finds the diary of his father in the back cave and
Yes.
he reads it and it's not what he thought it was. It's because he remembered it differently than what it actually was, or read it differently than what was actually in there. And found that it was his fault and went to the movie theater, but he still decides to be Batman anyway. Which does
Yeah,
bring
that's cool.
brings up an interesting thing because I'm just like, is when you get to the point that Kilmer is in Batman's career, will that really change your desire to want to dress up in Batman? You find out this one thing. You've been used to being Batman for so long, you know? Some people
Yeah,
that like Bruce finds his killer interpretation where he never does. If he does find his killer, he would no longer be Batman. I'm like, would he though? I don't know.
I think after you've seen so much good you've done and
Mm-hmm.
how much still needs to be done, then you probably keep on going.
Yeah.
As long as you don't feel like you're gonna. Well, I guess he doesn't care about dying too much. I don't know, but yeah, that's a cool, that's a good like character arc, and it's a shame it wasn't in Batman Forever. But it's like the kind of like he's yes defined by trauma, but at the same time, that's not. He
Mm-hmm.
can move past it as well and still be pretty much the same. It's or yeah, I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess Batman is a character that's kind of like the poster boy for being defined by trauma, but then it's like you don't have to always stay defined by trauma also, right? So,
Right.
yeah, that's a good little lesson that could be probably used more, and hopefully we get that Schumacher cut out at some point as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because I'm just like, I really would remove his reason to be Batman because I think you're at that point kind of past like you've got his career, he's just going to lead all on today. Even though, yes, we know Chris O'Donnell is old enough to do that in this version.
he's old enough to open up a 401k and fucking get a Centrum Silver and a fucking
his
prune
retirement
juice.
benefits.
Yeah.
But I don't think that at that point, if you're that late in the career, you're just going to leave it just because you find out that your parents didn't die the way that you thought they did. Like you would still do it because you've trained your whole life for this. This is your life. And I don't think this one thing is going to change that aspect of it. And suddenly it becomes more of just like, okay, now I'm not Batman anymore due to being driven by guilt. I'm just Batman now because it's the right thing to do. And this is my life.
Yeah, it seems like nature pours a vacuum in the sense like the universe. It's getting
Mm-hmm.
kind of metaphysical here, but in the sense of the comics, like how do I say this? This is like what he feels his destiny is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is yeah, this is what he's destined to do, and he'll always do this no matter what. I guess
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess that's also the lesson, and if you could also write that in a way as well. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
good.
So, Batman Forever version and Dark Knight Rises one is obviously very different in the fact that he leaves being Batman, he leaves being Gotham.
Yeah,
So
the
it does
7 year thing or whatever.
well after. I'm talking more about the very end,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
were referencing his cough, seeing Alfred. That
I okay. I mean, I know that's controversial, but at least he kind of like left it open for somebody else to be Batman, so there still is one, and
mm-hmm.
then he closed out his third act. This is going to be a trilogy. Let's at least have a third act for this guy,
Mm-hmm.
for this one character. So, in a sense, it's kind of tasteful. I think it was mostly tasteful. That wasn't really the problem with the movie for me. It was just it was other stuff. We've done episodes on this. Just if you want to
Yeah.
know, go back in the archives and shit. But yeah, it's in the
Eh,
case of the comics, it's more difficult, I think, because you got to sell his fucking books every
right, right.
month. This is Nolan finishing out a trilogy, so it's just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit different kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. But let's talk about like do like heals or what kind of causes that moment for him to heal because it does feel like it's stuff where Alfred tells him like you're too defined by your pain and stuff, and then Alfred
Right.
leaves him, and then later on, I guess Catwoman tempts him and like you've done enough for these people, and Batman like not yet because he's going to take down Bane, and then afterwards, I guess he feels like he's done, but it's not quite the same as what was in the Forever script in terms of seeing like an internal catalyst for that, in my opinion, unless I'm something.
What's
from it.
sad about Batman Forever, that cut that was, I mean, all the shit that was cut out is like
Mhm.
that was the most probably clearly defined character arc out of all of the Batman movies, don't you think? Even the Nolan shit,
Yeah, I would say so.
so clearly defined.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not just saying this because we've talked to the Bachelors. Like, really, like it was. That's just so good. And then
Hmm.
like the Keaton stuff is awesome, but his character art, you don't even know what's
He's
going
a
on with the
character
character.
arc.
Yeah, the character arc stuff going on in that, like what you don't even know what's going on with that shit. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah. So you're saying that there wasn't much setup for him to get to that point?
I feel like there wasn't really a lot for him to get to that
Yeah.
point, and maybe
Okay.
I'm wrong. Maybe I just need to rewatch the movie. We did cover it last year, but that's the most recent that I've had this movie in my mind. But I still don't remember anything that really led itself to that. It just seemed like, oh, like this is the ending for the trilogy. It's cool. Let's just find our way to lead up to that. But it
I
didn't really
mean,
feel like there was a lot to that
I
internally.
think basically, I mean, yeah, it's the meta thing. It's the third fucking movie, and
Yeah.
B, they just kind of set it up with that fucking exchange with Alfred. So like,
Right.
the idea is how I look at it. I mean, is basically um, that's like plants it in his mind,
Hmm.
and then some time goes by, and he starts, just noticing things in his life, or I don't know. It's a it's something that he has to process for the rest of the movie. And yeah, they don't really address it till they get to the cafe
Mm.
scene. But the way I was looking at it was just like he's probably been thinking about that conversation
Yeah.
the whole time
Hmm.
during all of this. But yes, there probably could have been some better weaving of Bane, what Bane might have said. Like, what would be a more ideal kind of thing? Like Bane says something contradictory to Alfred, or how could they have made that more connected, right, to his internal struggle?
For anyone who added Andrew to Alfred, and suddenly Alfred like in the background.
He
Somebody
reacts to
called
his
him.
name.
It'd be a very creepy and interesting, considering I've got headphones and nobody can hear you. It's not interesting. So,
Alfie's
um,
in this episode quite a bit.
just wants to make his appearance known for once. So, yeah, I think that it. The one thing that the Nolan Batman gets criticized a lot is that sometimes it feels like he's got with the whole like once I get hard to clear the streets, there's I don't have to be Batman. So this has always kind of been a temporary thing. He kind of just be Batman has to be for this 12th century because should go down and Bane's gonna blow it over the nuke. And then it's okay, fine. That's how it felt to me.
Check, check.
Yep.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there.
Okay. Damn. All right. Yeah, just mark that then.
Yeah. What was the last thing you said?
Basically that bring up the criticism that people have brought up where no one's Batman is like got one foot out the door.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You marked that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of like takes some of the joy out of it if you're always got one foot out of the door. Like, yes, Batman should be dark and stuff, but there should be some joy to it. You can't. I mean, joyless superhero films just aren't good, right? I mean, well, people said that about Man of Steel too, but it had, I don't know. I thought it was good nevertheless. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's just like a guy wanting to quit the main thing that you're there to see him do all the time. It's just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's not good. Um, the, I mean, him healing also, like I said before, it would be definitely say for the third act, but like as Kevin Smith points out, and I think somebody pointed out to him, but comics are essentially stuck in the second act
Yeah,
also. So,
I hear you.
uh, and it's like on one hand, it's just a way to. I mean, obviously, it's a way to just keep selling books, but also I've heard, I think from James Gunn's Twitter or something, like people feel a responsibility in this shared mythology that everybody loves so much to keep it going, and it's your responsibility to not end it.
Interesting.
In a sense, I mean, I think there should be a third act at some point, but that doesn't mean you can't reboot shit, obviously. But like we had Logan, that's a third act. uh,
Hmm.
and obviously Dark Knight Rises and stuff, third act. I mean, but I can see what they're saying, and like it's definitely a big responsibility to that most people don't want to take to kind of end to put the third act, to put the nail in the coffin on a really shared mythology. So
Hmm.
yeah, comics really inhabit a particular space, huh?
Yeah.
Not many
Yeah.
other media are like that. So on the meta level, yeah, he's probably never going to heal, man. Well, I guess he would heal, but it would be the Batman Forever thing where
Hmm.
he would keep going even after being healed.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because I
yeah,
think that just brings to mind in Batman and Robin. I remember Clooney had a comment at one point. I'll have to dig it up, but he said something about how like Bruce is kind of over his parents' death at this point. Or just like, yeah, he's over it already. And fans are just like, what the fuck, man? Clearly these guys don't get Batman. But I'm kind of like, you know what? 4 movies in, and considering the arc that was supposed to happen in Forever, I can kind of see that if you look at
right.
the four '90s Batman movies as a connected thing, as before the whole multiverse shit and suddenly it's all divided, you see it as one continuing story. You have him go from like dark vigilante Michael Keaton to him overcoming his pain as Val Kilmer through the original cut of the first stuff, with him finding out it's not his fault. And then by the time you get to Clooney, suddenly everything is more fun. He's a father figure, and he's got his own new family now with Robin and Batgirl. He doesn't need to be this brooding vigilante.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think by the fourth one, you got just
Mm-hmm.
let him get over it. It's cool. I mean, that sends a positive message too. Like you don't have to, you don't have to never get over it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think I agree with you. That criticism's not that great.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we had Batman Forever, Dark Knight Rises, and I think kind of in a way Zack Snyder's Justice League in how he's different in the Snyder cut of stuff, where he's less angry, has now more faith in humanity and his fellow man. But I think also Snyder had a quote about how Batman has a new family, also a new family who isn't going to die on him because they're all more immortal than he is.
Yeah,
And I thought that was a funny way to look at the Justice League and how they're
right.
different from Robin, where the Robins and the Batman family, they're still people he either recruited or are other human beings and stuff who are helping out with resources, and he sort of sees them as his own responsibility, as his own sons and stuff. The Justice League, there are other people, and maybe he's someone like Barry's like own son, but he doesn't feel like they're always going to be in danger of getting killed. You know?
Okay.
Because he's more
Right.
likely to get killed than any of them. Like he's
Right.
probably
Right.
not worried about losing Wonder Woman. She's been around on Earth for way longer than he is. Not really
Yeah.
worried about losing Superman yet, because he's already seen that.
Yeah.
It's very. I thought it was interesting. Maybe it's a quick movie though. It's an interesting insight. The family of his, there are people that really, it's almost like not having, I don't have to have the fear of going away. I go before they.
Right.
So I think the best image showing a healed Bruce Wayne from the Snyder Cut first three, Affleck looking like he 20 years younger walks out to talk to Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, man. Like the meta thing too of him getting over or going through rehab and all that, like we've talked before. I mean, that just kind of worked out
Yeah.
quite a bit there for sure.
Mm.
Um, and just probably seeing everybody kind of turn the tide on him in the public. Like everybody hated him at first, and now everybody's like, "Please give us more Batfleck," you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, he's great. Best bat suit too, like we've said before. So
Yep.
God, I want to see that Deathstroke movie, dude. That's definitely
I
his
know.
move. Make that shit for HBO Max.
Let that be
Yeah,
a
it's
swan
cool.
song. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. Please. It could be totally different from fucking Pattinson one.
Hmm.
Yeah. So can he? s- Let's let's answer it finally, bro. Can he heal? The answer's yes, right?
Yes. I'd say he can heal and still be Batman.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what the Bachelors gave the world, even though it was cut. They're probably not the first to do that, but they
Hmm.
definitely were the first to do it in fucking cinematic form.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because even if you look at the Adam West '60s show, I'm just like, he doesn't really seem like a dude who has really any real anger management issue. I mean, not anger management issues, but like traumatic issues. He doesn't seem to have any mental health stuff. If anything, he might be a little OCD in just how much he's obsessed and knows about stuff.
that shit was
But
just the tone. It's just too dark for kids, man. I mean,
oh yeah, that too.
you can't be going into fucking. I got these dark thoughts and I'm dissociative when you got bam, zop, pow, fucking shit
True, true. But
in the third act of every episode. You know what I
still
mean?
shows
So
that Batman can still work without those elements. He doesn't have to be in pain all the time. It doesn't have to just be about his pain. He can still work as a character outside of just, have nightmares about seeing his parents shot again. It
yeah,
doesn't always have to be like, yes, that's what causes him to become Batman. You don't want to get rid of that origin at all, but I'm also saying that you don't need that to happen every single time that he closes his eyes. You don't need that to be something that he's obsessed about all the time,
I,
especially the more experience he gets.
I wonder if they could make that show again or something in its vein, like a Brave and the Bold live action show on HBO Max.
Hmm. I would like
And
that.
yeah, for kids. What is the precedent for that though? Like, are there any live action shows for kids right now?
Just in general.
Yeah, like what could they?
I mean, I
Because
guess Disney Channel.
the maybe that I guess like the market research would have to involve that kind of thing, right? Like what I mean, kids are mainly watching cartoons, of some sort. I
Hmm.
think like there's no like live action kids show. I mean, I guess they're just watching Marvel movies and shit.
Yeah. I mean, again, just Disney Channel stuff, but still very Disney year from entertainment in the '66 show.
Yeah,
Won't see it, so it's I don't know if it would ever really do that.
yeah,
Interesting idea. I think that a lot of people have talked about like what if there ever was a modern take on the serial, and it could either be a comedic take or another idea where Inframan has pitched to me is for it has the visuals is like a little bit more straight, where it's a little less comedic, but you still have all the colorful visuals. It's just a little more too. It's like a thing that's not necessarily as can't, but it's still kind of just cool action.
check check.
Damn it.
I'm gonna
Hello.
mark this. I can hear you. You just breaking up a lot.
Jesus.
Sorry, man. It might be the weather or something. I don't know, but
I
yeah,
don't know.
it's connection's not great. It could be me. I don't know.
No, I'm looking at my ping and it just keeps saying it times out every like few pings and stuff. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I
Well, it's
could
okay.
get the Ethernet cable, but we know what happened the last time I tried that.
Well, we're probably closing up soon anyway,
Anyway,
so
yeah.
uh yeah, let's just head into what comments in now, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So let me mark this again. All right.
All right. Anyway,
take it
we
away.
have a few fan comments to go over. Started with Jeffrey. Jeffrey joined us for the live show last night. But I thought
Thank
I
you
might
for
as well.
joining, man.
Yep.
It's awesome having everybody on board and see these Patreon tiers take off, man. It's
Hmm.
really kind of a dream of mine. I'm sure yours been to really get this thing going and have this become like a
Mm.
business of sorts. Like these guys know, well, Ben and Zach know that like I love Last Podcast on the Left, and to see their success is just insane, man. I'm
Hmm.
just trying to, I mean, not copy them entirely, but like just kind of use some of that energy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
And it was your idea to do a lot of the Patreon type stuff here as
yeah,
well. So this
yeah,
whole type of tier stuff is a good payoff
yeah,
to your work over the years and your ideas.
yeah. It takes a while sometimes.
So Jeffrey agreed with me. It looks like he says, "Yeah, the Audio Adventures was."
Oh yeah, I saw this comment. Yeah.
I- um, John Effner, our guest from this week show, was also a fan. I was reading up on some of his stuff on his blog, where he's just like, "I listened to the first episode, and yeah, that was it for me." So
So it's not good. I take it.
you could check it out if you just want something in the background for 10 hours, but yeah,
I'm skipping it, man. This is
yeah.
one I see pretty much everything in the theaters, but
Mm.
with this kind of shit, I don't know, man. I might be
Yeah.
out on this one.
Venom, Let There Be Carnage is probably better.
It probably will be. As of this recording, we're getting some interesting non-spoiler reviews online, but that's another story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey also said that, yes, you will see me tonight, which we did. So that
Awesome.
was
Yep.
awesome. You guys who are also part of the $10 tier and up will get to see that if you up. And if you haven't, then, it's been a while. Come on, man. The link's been up for a while. Check that out and let us know what you think in the comments. But yeah. Over to other comments, we have Jared. Jared P has commented on a couple stuff saying that, quote, sad to hear how the Audio Adventures was a letdown. I agree with Andrew that there's a lot out there now. I'd much rather have quality over quantity. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
When I was growing up, pretty much outside of Batman movie release, there was just BTAS and the comics.
We all have that experience, right? Like just everybody our age or older, it's just like I mean, there's one reason why I cannot get too much superhero fatigue in a sense because it's like this is what we always wanted. And we grew up without any of it. We used to dream of the day.
Mhm.
So and there will come a day, Ben, where this is over.
Yeah,
The next thing will happen. We're living it now. This
living the best
trend
time. Yeah.
this trend will most certainly die. They'll be around forever, but it being
Mhm.
like the number one thing, you know, like Nirvana came along and destroyed '80s music forever. And I often wonder, will there be a movie or something that will come along that will destroy this boom, like
Mhm.
single-handedly? Like they always say in music documentaries, Nirvana comes along, '80s glam, Motley Crue, everything from the '80s is fucking dead. Nirvana single-handedly starts a new fucking era in music. And I think I think maybe someday that'll come along. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's interesting to think about, but that's why we have to just enjoy the trend that we have now. And anyway, thank you for your comment. I just made me think of all that other shit to say.
Imagine if we were trying to do this in 1998.
Yeah, right. It'd be
We'd
nothing to
have
talk about. Not much to talk about.
Batman
Blade.
movies from the past and Blade. I'm like, well, let's hope that Batman 5 is coming.
Blade
Joel
fucking
Schumacher.
ruled. Blade was like the second or third DVD I ever bought. The first one being Austin Powers, of course.
Let's see. Jared also left a review for our review for Shang-Chi, saying, quote, nice review. Honestly, much of the MCU to me is reusing the same staples of storytelling, etc. It's playing it safe, but in that sense, it becomes mundane and predictable, in my opinion. I've been watching a lot of foreign films lately, mostly from Italy and Asia. I may actually watch this one, but if Shang-Chi is just okay in comparison to other martial art films, then it may not be a priority. It's nice to get more of a variety with American films, but so much is out there in the foreign market that I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, it was a good movie, but it just seems like you said it's a little bit overrated,
Hmm.
but I still liked it okay, but everybody's saying it's like it fucking rules and I'm
Yeah,
like
I know.
it's cool, man, but I don't know about it being it fucking rules or not. It's like
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
in terms of other martial arts stuff, like yeah, there's definitely a lot of like superior martial arts movies out there. There's some probably with the same actors as well, you know.
You ever
But
seen Iron Monkey?
oh, I loved Iron Monkey growing up.
Dude, that movie is great, man. I saw that on a Quentin Tarantino disc or this
Yeah,
before
he did the
Netflix.
whole presents these martial arts
Yes.
movies and that type of stuff. Yeah.
In that movie, man, he says in the presentation, I'll be done with this tangent soon, but he says, like, in those days, this is like, 20, 30, 40 years ago or something, the Chinese movie going audience would generally see, most people would see just one movie a year or so. So they'd put like every genre in one movie. And
Mm,
like Iron Monkey just kind of makes it work. Like
yeah.
it's got drama, it's got comedy, maybe even horror. I can't remember. Action, of course. Like that movie is, if you haven't seen Iron Monkey, go out there and see it, everybody. That movie is fucking awesome. Good kung fu flick.
Don't watch Iron Monkey 2 though.
I never saw the second one.
The second one is modern day and it has almost nothing to do with the first one. It's a big
Oh, well, that
disappointment. I
that
don't know
sucks.
about that. It's just like, what is this?
The first one's a classic, and it is better than Shang-Chi for
Mm,
sure.
yeah. Younger Donnie Yen as well. What is that? Damn
I, I I just heard that. I heard damn it.
it.
I'm gonna mark this again. Okay. Check check. I don't hear you just yet.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I heard that. It's cool, man. We almost done.
Yeah. We'll
All
just
right.
wrap this up.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay, cool. So those are the comments from this guy. Thanks for being behind the paywall with us.
Yes, thank you everybody for being behind the paywall. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. Again, cannot get used to the short outro, man. I guess the comments are kind of the outro,
Mhm.
but so yeah, I guess that's it, everybody. So thanks, and see you later. Bye.
Bye.
All right,
All right. Let's
I
stop the level.
am ending.
Sorry about all the